Improving corner entry speed is something that the vast majority of track day riders are striving for, but it's also one of the most difficult areas to improve. In this video, I want to go over 4 of the key skills to consider on your quest to making improvements to this part of your riding, my intention being that you can hopefully come away with at least one realization or aspect of your riding to work on moving forward. Now, the brake lever is literally the control we use to set the speed for the upcoming corner. For that reason, it's the first thing we're going to tackle here. The scale that defines what riders do with the brakes is pretty large. On the one end of it, you have less experienced riders that use very little brakes, or sometimes no brakes at all, because they're rolling off really early on the straights through fear, and as a result, they find they don't actually need to use the brakes. This obviously means they're losing a bunch of time in the braking zone itself, but they'll also almost always find themselves going way too slow in the corners on top of that. On the other end of that scale, you have much more experienced riders that often enter maximum attack mode and try to brake as late and as hard as they possibly can. The common end result for this type of rider is that they overbrake and once again enter the corners too slow. If you see yourself sitting in the early part of that scale and you're using little braking effort, your priority should be to find and use solid braking markers and then get more comfortable using more braking potential in the braking zone. As you begin to do that, you're going to find that you can begin to edge the braking points closer to the corner, and you'll also begin to use a more healthy portion of the bike's braking potential as well. If you relate more to the maximum attack rider and feel you're still losing out at corner entry, well, your plan is pretty simple. Brake less. Yes, the ultimate goal should be to brake as hard and as late as possible to achieve maximum potential in the braking zone, but if that braking effort comes at the expense of corner entry speed and composure, then something needs to change. Typically, this means to brake less aggressively initially, release the brake lever a little bit quicker, or both. And depending on how much you're on the limit already, you may also have to brake a little bit earlier too. Braking plays such a massive part in corner speed potential, and it's a skill to look at if you aren't happy with what you're experiencing at corner entry. Next up, vision. Saying brake less is all well and good, but if your brain continues to override what you want to do, then that instruction is pretty useless. One big factor in how your brain makes decisions for you is how it perceives the space you have ahead of you based on the information that your eyes are feeding it. If you're looking at the wrong place at the wrong time, or worse, not even attempting to look in the right place, you're going to have a tough time overcoming your automatic reaction to slow down to a speed that you perceive as safe. This is especially true in heavy braking zones. Rapid deceleration bombards the senses, and it's a point where you want to be most aware of what's approaching and where you're headed. If you're not, don't be surprised if you fall into more panic situations than most. You want to have solid points of reference and to be looking at them at the right time to give your brain the best information it can get and to pass that information along well in advance. This is going to mean a much cooler head at corner entry, and once again you can better judge corner entry speed. Next up, the mental game. Now, while not really a skill in the traditional sense, the way your mind behaves can have a big impact in what you're able to do out on track. Similarly to what I just talked about, if there are deeper blocks that prevent you from entering corners faster, then your effort to roll more speed into the corners is once again going to become a problematic and frustrating endeavor. The most common mental block is the fear of leaning the bike over, which is actually something we're going to cover specifically in a future video. Now, it may not be the case for you, but to improve in this area for a lot of riders is simply a case of getting as much perspective as you can on what your bike and tires are really capable of, creating a plan to tackle the issue, and then practice, practice, practice. Another mental holdback from higher corner entry speed could be the fear of running out of space. If you can already see that space is limited, then you have to look at what you're doing and the lines you're creating, which is helped by good vision, and then tweaking your approach to the corner itself. And this point actually leads us nicely onto the final skill: your ability to steer the bike and change direction. If you arrive at the entry of a corner and you knew exactly what you needed to do to get the bike onto the line you wanted and you could do it with ease, how confident would you feel in that moment about making it around the corner? You'd be feeling pretty okay about things, I'm sure. The truth is that knowing how we steer the bike and change direction, as well as being able to do that with relative ease, is what's going to naturally build more confidence for yourself with regards to the space you have ahead of you. Because it's only from that point that you can begin to evaluate your approach and consider what more speed going into the corner might bring. And from there you can start to consider things like, can I lean the bike more, or can I steer quicker, or maybe steer at a different point? I can't really give you specific advice in terms of exactly when and how you need to steer because every corner is different. But just by learning about and getting good at putting the bike where you want, you're going to naturally build confidence with the bike and you'll be able to better deal with the extra speed you incrementally add to the equation. A fear of running out of space is one of the biggest barriers that riders have to overcome, and it's building the confidence to steer the bike and create the lines you want that's going to mean that fear begins to subside. Have you had any entry speed breakthroughs? If so, tell us what made the difference for you in the comments down below. And as always, if you liked the video, then please hit the button below and subscribe to the channel for more performance riding advice and guides moving forward. Take care.